Hi everyone, today we're going to be solving LeetCode Easy from the LeetCode 75 study plan, and this is the first question from the arrays and strings category. So let's get started with the problem statement. You are given two strings, word1 and word2. Merge the strings by adding the letters in alternating order, starting with word1. If a string is longer than the other, append the additional letters onto the end of the merged string. Return the merged string. And in the first example, where both words have the same quantity of letters, we can see that the desired output is just an alternating sequence of letters from both strings, starting with the first letter of word 1 as described in the problem statement above. In the case of example 2, where the length or the number of letters in word 2 is greater than the number of letters in word 1, we do the alternating sequence until we can't anymore, in which we just kind of tack on the remaining letters in word 2. So let's go to Paint and think about how we can solve this problem. So I'm going to create an example of two words, and we'll have word 1, and word 1 is just going to be the word ABC, and word 2 is just going to be the letter X, Y, Z, W. And now the key thing to understand that makes this problem a lot less difficult to solve is just that strings are nothing more than sequences or arrays of characters. So in the case of word 1, it's just going to be a sequence of 3 characters. And in the case of word 2, it's just going to be a sequence of 4 characters. So how I'm going to go about approaching solving this problem is, since we know that they want the first letter of word 1 to always be the first letter in our alternating sequence on each iteration of whatever kind of loop we implement, we're going to have it so we start with the first letter of word 1 and then go to the first letter of word 2. And then on the next iteration, we just move over one index in our sequence of letters in word 1, grab B, do the same for word 2 to grab Y, and we'll repeat this process one final time for C in word 1 and Z in word 2. Now the final problem we kind of have is, how do we deal with the case where one sequence of letters is larger than the other sequence? And in the case of this problem, we're going to have to add some kind of condition that says stop when we reach the end of the length of our sequence of letters. And similarly, we would have to do that for word 2. And so in the case of our example, since we have an additional letter in word 2, we're still going to put that into our sequence. And as you can see, we get A, X, B, Y, C, Z, W, which is creating this alternating sequence with the additional letters tacked on at the end as the problem statement specified. So the last thing we're going to do before we go and look at the code I've written up is we're just going to kind of think about what is the time and memory complexity if we implement this kind of solution to the problem. And hopefully from my kind of drawing here, you can see that we're going to perform the number of iterations of whichever sequence W1 or W2 is larger. So the time complexity is going to be O of max n m, where n and m just represent the length of the sequence of letters in word 1 and word 2. For memory, it should be pretty easy to see that it's just n plus m, and this just has to be the case because we're using all the letters of both sequences to build a new sequence that we're going to return. So let's take a look at the code now. So for the code for the solution, you can see that we start by creating a merged string, and then, like I said, iterating over whichever word has a larger sequence and just checking if we've reached the end of that sequence, and if we haven't, we're just going to append it to our string. And I've already ran the tests, but if I hit submit, you see that we get a accepted submission with a relatively decent runtime. So I hope you enjoyed the video, and as this is my first video, I would appreciate any feedback, and if you have a better solution or any feedback, feel free to leave it in the comments. Thanks for watching.